If you can just be consistent and disciplined enough to show up every single day, no matter what you're doing in life, you're automatically going to get ahead of everybody else, period.
Welcome to this episode of The Insurance Buzz. We are your hosts, Courtney and Michael Weaver. I am doing the intro because if you are listening to this episode on February 27th, it is Michael Weaver's birthday, and we are doing a special episode all about you. Actually, it's all about you that is listening to this podcast. We're going to be talking about success. I'm going to ask him questions that he has no idea what's coming, and the changes in the industry. Are you ready?
Let's go, baby. I am excited. I'm pumped. I have no idea what you're about to ask me, so this is going to be a lot of fun. Is this going to be like what I've learned over like my 37 years or what's up?
Well, stay tuned.
Okay.
That's the podcast. I can't tell you everything that's going to happen. All right. So the first question that I have for you, we're recording this before your birthday, but you're going to be 37. You've been in the industry now since you were 21.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Wowza.
Wow. You're aging me just a little bit, okay? You're dating me.
I get to do that because you talk about all the time how I'm a cougar because I'm older than you. So this is the one time of year where I'm like, yeah, everyone needs to know how old Michael Weaver is.
Hey, you're like
Come on.
You're like a little puma.
I know, baby.
Baby claws. Baby claws.
All right, here's the first question. So you've been in the industry since you were 21.
Yep.
What has not changed in the industry?
That's a great question. What it takes to be successful. And what I mean by that is, at the end of the day, success is up to you, the person that is the leader in the agency, whether you're the agency owner, whether you are a licensed sales producer. At the end of the day, success is going to start and stop with you. And I believe that that's everything in life. So when you ask me the question, what hasn't changed and what it takes to be successful, and that is being the absolute best you can be at your craft. Because if you decide to invest in yourself and develop the skill set it takes to be successful, master your craft, nothing can hold you back from the success that you want out of this career in life.
I love that. Has your definition of success changed over the years?
It has. It has. So you know this, but 21-year-old Michael was very money motivated. And while I'm still money motivated, when I was 21, 22 years old, a lot of the success was dependent on how much money I was making. And a lot of the goals was around how much money I want to make. Whereas success now, it more so equates to wealth and impact. So my success, and when you talk about wealth, it's just not how much money you're making. While I believe that money helps the world go around, and I am still very money motivated, wealth is also about building a life that you're proud of, creating an impact that positively affects others. At least this is my definition of success. Building a life that I'm excited about, doing a career that I'm excited about, building it with somebody by my side that I love and enjoy being around. And so, yeah, I would say that my definition of success has changed. Like, it's kind of like legacy. I used to talk about legacy a lot and how I wanted to have $100 million net worth. And that's what I wanted to leave my kids and my grandkids. And no matter how much time I had to sacrifice, or no matter what I had to sacrifice, I was willing to do whatever it took to get there. And while I still believe that we will hit the $100 million net worth, legacy is more around those that I impact along the way. And more importantly, when we have kids, just raising good human beings, and that's the best legacy I can leave, regardless of how much money I do or do not make. So I would say that, yeah, my definition of success has changed dramatically.
What advice would you give to new agents, since you have sat in so many different seats, from the producer role to the agent role to now the coaching role? What advice would you give to new agents, or any agent that is struggling right now, that is questioning, is this for me?
So if you're questioning if it's for you, why would it not be for you would be the first question I would ask. Like, what struggle are you having that makes you no longer feel like this is the career for you? And laying out your 1 year, 3 year, 5 year vision around what you want your life to look like, number one, and then does the career that you're doing support that life or that lifestyle? And I'm a firm believer that the insurance industry and financial services industry is the best industry in the country, for numerous reasons. That you get to do something, number one, that you're proud of every single day. You get to change people's lives. You get to help them put plans in place so they're not financially devastated, regardless if they total out their car, their house burns down, or they lose a loved one, they get hurt and can't go to work. Like, you have that power as an insurance professional. So it can be a really rewarding career. It can be a very fulfilling career. It can be a very meaningful career. But the day-to-day is tough as hell. And so to answer your question specifically, like, if someone's struggling, or the advice I would give someone just starting an agency or just getting into this career, and it is going to have a lot to do with my first answer, but develop yourself. Develop yourself. Like, the best investment you ever make will be the one that you make in yourself, because the skills that you acquire, the knowledge that you learn, are two things that people can never take away from you. And a lot of times, the skill development that you learn in this career to be successful are going to be transferable to other careers, even if you decide to make a career shift. But from my experience, when I get down, depressed, start questioning whether I'm doing the right thing with my life, with the career that I'm in, I always turn back and look at myself and say, okay, well, who am I surrounding myself with currently? What am I doing to develop myself? What am I doing to grow? What am I doing to develop new skill sets? How am I investing in myself? Because what I've found is, a lot of times within my career and life, when I went through stages of depression or stages of questioning whether this is for me anymore, what I found is I would get out of my personal success routine. I would quit reading. I would quit the prayers. I would quit the meditations, and I would quit working out, and I would turn to more other outlets like booze, for example. And so, if you're in that situation right now, I would just ask you, what does your daily routine look like? What do your habits look like? Because your life is going to be dependent upon your habits. There's an old saying that's like, show me your habits and I'll show you what your life looks like in 5 years. And I believe in that. And a lot of times when we focus on just, at least me personally, I know everyone's different, but when I focus on reading, on sauna, on meditation, on working out, on the things that make me happy, everything else just tends to go well in my life. And so that's what I would say.
I completely agree. Your outer world is just a reflection of your inner world. So what you're seeing out is what's going on in. And I read something the other day that said, habits are the architects of your life. They're building your life. So I'm glad that you brought up your success habits. I want to go two different directions with that. First, why do you stop doing your success habits when you're feeling that pull away from your daily meditation, prayer, sauna?
That's a really great question. And I think that those things are sometimes the easiest to pull away from, because look, waking up at 5 a.m. in the morning isn't easy. Hitting the snooze button is easy. Sleeping in until 7 a.m. is easy. And so sometimes, at least me personally, when I'm going through episodes in my life that create more stress, instead of focusing on the things that will actually help me eliminate the stress, I turn to more of the easy buttons, which actually, when you think about it, just ends up adding more stress to your life. But as humans, I think it's really easy to get away from the things that make you feel good. While they may be more difficult, we tend to go the easy route, at least in my opinion, when we're like whatever you're going through in your life.
Overwhelmed, burnout, stressed out.
Stressed. Yeah. Like, and you tend to, at least me, like I tend to just look at other outlets, which don't help me. They may help me feel good at the time, but long-term, they don't help me at all. So why? I don't know. Why do you think?
I think, I would agree. we look to self-soothe in what we've done in the past. So we grab whatever those outlets are that we use for coping or soothing, and we look at the things that are part of our routines and our rituals as work. Yep. And when work or life is heavy, we tend to want to get rid of the things that we feel like are stacking onto that. So I think it's really working towards, is this a healthy way to cope with life?
Yep.
Is this something that is adding value, or is it taking away? And I'm the first one to do that as well. I will start getting rid of things because I don't have time, because I'm busy. I can't afford to invest in myself right now because so many other people or things need my attention. So that's when I tend to let those things slide.
And I would also add to that, like a lot of times, at least when I'm going through a stressful time in my life or burnout, the last thing I want to focus on is somebody being like, go out and make your dreams come true. Like,
you want to hit that mute button so fast. You're like, shut up.
Shut the hell up, man. Like, so that's another thing, I think. But in all reality, going on the flip side of working through periods of like that in my life, the answer is exactly that. The answer is surrounding yourself with people that think no idea is too big. Like your dreams, do whatever it takes to make it happen. And just going back to those daily rituals, those daily habits that do make you happy, fill your cup. Those are what pull you out of those time periods in your life. And quite frankly, those time periods in your life when you are feeling unfulfilled, stress, burnout, typically there's something to learn from those periods of your life. And so I used to look at those at, honestly, sometimes I would even, you know me, I'm typically overly optimistic. I'm very positive. And so I'd be like, no, I'm not. No, Courtney, I'm not going through any type of stage right now. This is just a stage of business. When in all reality, and I'm lucky that I've had you in my corner this whole time, but there's always lessons to be learned. And I know this old saying, like, enjoy the journey, just don't get to the don't just be aiming at the destination the whole time. And it's so true. Like, there's going to be down periods in the journey, but there's always something to be learned during those periods of time when you are feeling burnt out, when you are stressed, when you are questioning, is this for me or not? It's just a really good time to look inside and revisit, what do I want my life to look like and how am I going to get there?
I think a big part of it too that I have noticed is not just a disconnection from the routines and rituals, which I do want to get into with you because you have it, and it's something that I admire, how committed to your routine you are, your daily practices. But a lot of times for me, when I start to kind of get into that lull where I feel like, what am I doing? Does this matter? Is anyone listening? Like, what is my purpose here? What is the highest vision that you have for my life? A lot of times I have found that when I get to that spot, it's because I have disconnected from gratitude. I'm coming from a place of what's out there, what's more, what's bigger, what's better, instead of going, okay, wait a minute. If nothing else, I can always ground in gratitude. Yep. Because when you focus on good things, more good things
happen.
So I think sometimes for me, it's a very simple reconnection of, it doesn't have to be big and bold, and you don't have to cure incurable diseases. Sometimes it's just really having that appreciation for what it is right now and the thing that you are going through right now. So I want to get into your daily practices because they are insane. And we have talked about this before, but I think it's one of my favorite things about you because you are so stable. You are so dependable. And when we met, gosh, I remember this. I had this like clear vision. Once I learned who you were, I'm like, this dude is like water. Like, you are so persistent. Like, you were so persistent with whatever it is that you were doing. You were willing to literally chop wood and carry water for as long as it took. And you've had these daily practices since you were 22. I'm like, what the hell? You're 22. Like, let's go out and party. And you're like, no, I'm committed to the gym. I'm committed to listening to Brian Tracy. I'm committed to these things. So I had to loosen him up a little bit, have a damn good time here. I'm like, no, we're going to go get vodka cranberries, baby. Let's go. So I would love to know, of your daily practice, let's break through all of them. And then I want to know, what's the one thing that you would never give up? No matter how bad the situation got, no matter how deep in that hole that we all can find ourselves in. So let's break down the whole practice, and then I want to know what the thing is
Okay.
that you won't give up.
Okay. Yeah, and the practice for me, and even obviously you've seen it change multiple times throughout the last, 15 years now, 16 years. And so back then it was just, and it's always started like this. What do successful people do? And I'm just going to do the same thing that they do, and I'm probably going to have success as well.
When you told me that, you're like, hey, there's no cheat code. I just look at the people that have the things that I want, and I just do the things that they're doing. And I'm like, That's it? And you're like, yeah, that's it.
That's it.
I'm like, wow. Okay, that's refreshing.
I mean, that's what I've done my entire life because and we could even take this back to sports. And as a kid, like I was never the biggest, I was never the strongest, I was never the fastest, but the one thing that you could count on with me is I was going to give it everything I freaking had. I was the first one to practice. I was the last one to leave practice. Like I knew that if I wanted to make the team, maybe I wasn't the most athletic, I wasn't the most gifted, but if I just showed up and I was consistent, I gave it my all, I would beat out most of my friends that weren't consistent because they just weren't. Like they weren't consistent. They wouldn't give it their all. And so that was always my competitive advantage in school with sports specifically. So then when I got to the professional world, I noticed the same thing. Like people would come in, they're in a bad mood. I'm like, we got a job to do. Like, I don't know what you're doing today, but I'm like, I'm here to do a job. And so, and I know I'm getting off of the morning habits a little bit, but the point of this is regardless of what you're doing in life, just show up and give it your everything. And you will automatically beat out the 99% of people that don't show up on a daily basis because they let the personal things in their life affect their personal or their professional life. And so that's the number one way to get ahead in life is just show up and give it your all every single day. Like if you can just be consistent and disciplined enough to show up every single day, no matter what you're doing in life, you're automatically going to get ahead of everybody else, period. And so when I take it back to my 22-year-old self, yeah, we met each other in the gym at 5 o'clock in the morning. And that was my, hey, I'll be here tomorrow at 5 a.m. if you want to. Like, that's how we even met. Like, I kind of gave the hook. Like, I'm here every day at 5 a.m. You want to see me? Like, I'll see you tomorrow. And you showed up, and I'm like, oh, I got a chance, baby. Tell me there's a chance.
You know what? I wish I could tell that 25-year-old girl, like, hey, you don't have to play this game. We know you're not a morning person. You can go to the gym whenever you want. Just tell them I'll meet you at the gym at 5 p.m. instead of 5 a.m. You are a morning person.
So, long story short, my routine now looks like I get up at 5:02. I get in the sauna. So I'm doing roughly a 20-minute sauna at 194 degrees, jump in the cold plunge for 2 minutes, get back in the sauna. And during my sauna is where the magic happens. It's just not getting in the sauna while I thoroughly enjoy it. I'm doing a prayer, I'm doing a meditation, and I'm doing an I am exercise. And during my prayer and meditation, I am doing box breathing while I do this. So it's typically about a 15 to 20 minute box breathing exercise. So you figure I'm dedicating roughly about 40 minutes every single morning right when I get up to not only my health and doing the things that make me feel good physically, but also I'm working on my mental game, my emotional game, my spiritual game before the day even gets started. So by 6 a.m., I'm like, whew, I'm ready to rock and roll. Like I get out of the cold plunge. Like the first half is sauna, which is great. I'm still like kind of in that, not sleep mode, but rest mode. And so that's why my meditation tends to be better. And that's why I do that first. But then I jump in the cold plunge and it's like, let's go, baby. I'm ready to rock and roll. And so then I come back in and I read, and I typically will read for about 15 to 30 minutes, depending on the chapter, with a cup of coffee. So I've started to enjoy my what I call slow mornings, as you know, and that's really my morning success routine right now. And then we go on a walk with the dogs typically, and kind of have a conversation. So that's been really, really great. The one thing that I'm missing right now in my routine is working out, as you know, but I've substituted that with learning golf. And so I'm still doing things physically. I'm still hiking. I've taken on yoga. Like I fell in love with hot yoga. So, because when you ask me a question that you're going to ask me, and it's what wouldn't you give up? That's really hard for me to answer because it kind of has changed throughout my lifetime. And because if you'd asked me this 5 years ago, I'd have been like, I'm never going to give up going to the gym. And while I don't think I will ever give that up, right now that's just not a priority because I'm filling my cup in other ways physically, like the yoga and the golf. And so I don't know if that answers your question or not, but right now, if I said, well, the one thing I'm never going to give up, the one thing that I would never give up would be reading. Because it's one of those things that I continue to learn, whether it is leadership, whether it's like right now I'm reading The Magic by Rhonda Byrne that talks about gratitude. It's like a 28-day gratitude journal that gives you something to do every day. And so I think reading is just one of those things that that makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I'm learning something. It makes me feel like I'm developing. The cold showers as well. Like that's just something I've been doing for 5 years, and it's a routine I plan on doing it the rest of my life.
I love that. Okay, so you talked about physical movement. You've talked about box breathing. You've talked about all of these different things. If there was one that
the box breathing is super. I do it every day,
Yeah.
no matter what. Like even certain times throughout the day when I get in a stressful situation, or maybe I need to calm myself down before I go into a sales call or a presentation, box breathing is something I always turn to because it helps me stabilize myself. It helps me just focus. It helps me with every aspect of my life, even that's professional, but even personal settings, when I'm in a situation that may test my emotional intelligence, the one thing I go back to is box breathing. Is just my breath, because if I can control my breath, I can control really everything that's going on in my life, how I'm about to respond to a situation, so it helps calm me down.
Yep.
And so that's the one thing as well that that I never plan on giving up, is just that breathing exercise, because you enter the world breathing, you exit the world breathing. And so the one thing that you really need to focus on, that you have total control over, that can help you, whether you want to get more excited, whether you want to calm yourself down, is your breathing. And so that would be actually the one thing out of everything that I would never give up, that I would continue to focus on, is my breathing exercises and my breath, because it has so much control over your life.
Yeah. It's the first thing that you're given, and it's the last thing that's taken away.
Yep.
And it's something, especially in this industry, to help regulate your emotions, to help regulate your nervous system, because it's so up and down. And I'm curious what you're going to answer to this, because I think there's a connection here. But the agents that I see that have chaotic agencies, and the agencies that I see that are calm, are really coming back to how that leader manages the emotions of the agency.
Yep.
How they work through those problems and look at them as, I signed up for this challenge. This is my opportunity to grow and expand. And how can we learn and how can we move through this, versus being very reactive, being very emotional, being that up and down of like, things are going great, but they absolutely suck. Things are going great. Like that kind of roller coaster. So what characteristics do you see that successful versus unsuccessful agencies have?
You just hit it. So, look, at the end of the day, the most successful agents that we have been around, whether we know them personally or whether we've just had them on the podcast or ran into them at an event, it doesn't really matter. They all have certain characteristics. And these characteristics are, most of them, I would say a large percentage, 99, let's just say 90 plus, do have some type of success ritual, period. There are some of those outliers out there that just don't do anything, and they are just great leaders, I guess. But a large majority, and that's what I try to focus on, is what are the majority doing? They typically have some type of success routine, and a lot of those are that success morning routine that I talk about, that I fall into. And so I would say that. But number two, they have consistent communication practices with their agency. So that's whether they're meeting with their team every single day, or whether they are, they have somebody in the office that's consistently communicating, and I'm just not the vision and the mission, but just, hey, here's our goals. How are we going to hit your goals? What's getting in the way of your success? And they're diving into helping each individual on their team just not be the best professional they can be, but also how can I help you just be the best person you can be? How can I help you hit your personal goals? So they're leading by example, and they actually care about their team. They give a shit about their team. It's just not the old leadership style style of, I'm giving you a job, my name's on the door,
Yeah.
you show up and you better do what I say or you're not going to have a job. Well, that shit doesn't fly. I don't think it's ever been good, but specifically in today's times when Gen Zs and millennials have higher emotional intelligence than I ever had as a 22-year-old. They have to be led differently, and we are talking to people that if they're not fulfilled in what they're doing, they're going to leave, and they don't have to have a backup plan. And so they're calling leaders on their shit. All right, and so another thing is they are continuously pouring into themselves. Like they invest in themselves. They do not hesitate in investing in themselves. Because again, and I've said this numerous times, but the best investment you will ever make is in yourself. And they're consistently pouring into themselves, whether they're investing in coaches and masterminds, in things for the team. They are investing in their business. More importantly, they're investing in themselves, because as a owner of a business, period, success is going to rise as high as your level and it's going to fall to your level. So if you're not happy with your current business's production, vision, the direction that it's headed, it is not your team's fault. It is not the community's fault. It is not the outside environment's fault. It's the person that you see in the mirror every single day. And in saying that, the most successful business owners we know take ownership of that, period. And we could continue to go on with these characteristics, but look, at the end of the day, it's up to you. Period. And you have to lead your people. You have to paint a vision. You have to pour into them every single day, and you have to be able to surround yourself with like-minded. Your culture is everything, and surrounding yourself with like-minded people, and painting that vision and pouring into them both personally and professionally. And the only way you can do that is if you're pouring into yourself.
I think to that point, though, that is actually incredibly empowering. When you realize that now you can change, like you have the ability to change. If you are looking in the mirror and you're like, woe is me, this sucks, all of this is happening, and you're pointing out, the minute you take ownership, it becomes incredibly empowering, because you go, oh, I can do something about this shit. Like I can actually take a step in a completely different direction, or I can ask for help, which I think is, to your point, a characteristic that I see a lot in successful people is they are willing to put ego aside and say, I need help in this category. I have a higher vision for my life and I keep getting in my own way and I can't see where it is. Can you help me? And they know to reach out when they get to that point instead of getting too far down the line.
Oh, and yes, and you just made me spark my memory, because 100%, but this goes into that, is not only asking for help, but willing to invest the money and not having a scarcity mindset, having an abundant mindset. Because as a business owner, look, there's a reason why the most successful agents you know invest a ton of money into the business and look at what the ROI is on the back end. If you want to grow and scale, the best way to do that is through people, and people cost money. But then you have to invest in those people. You have to invest in marketing. You have to. So I know that's more of like a tangible, like, okay, we've talked a lot about investing in yourself, developing yourself, getting good people, but it's also taking money and pouring back into the business.
Well, okay. Can I go on a rant for just a second here?
Of course you can.
Because I think sometimes
this is my episode.
I know. I am having my Barbara Walters moment, though.
Let's do it. I want to hear it.
So I think, and I find myself in this category a lot, and I think a leader is very patient and they are very clear. They can redirect and go, we're off target, come back. That's a lot of what a leader is. And they're very patient and trusting the process. And what I mean by that is sometimes we want success and we want it now. And we want to bypass all of the challenges and the lessons that give us the ability to hold that success. And what I mean by that is, let's say that you have $1 million agency right now, but you want a $10 million agency. The challenges, the obstacles, the opportunities that you will have at 10 million are very different than at 1 million, but you have to learn those lessons. If you don't learn those lessons, then you don't have the capacity to hold that success. And that's the reason why we talk about this a lot. We see lottery winners who can't hold on to that money because they haven't learned that skill set of how to hold on to that money. So the top leaders that I see, agents, producers, I don't care, this is just a leader in your own life, are people that are willing to learn the lesson and go, okay, this is an opportunity for me to grow. They see challenges as opportunities. Okay, once I learn this, I will have this foundation built. So the next thing that comes is bigger, badder, better, right? And so I think that's a huge part, is that you don't get to teleport from here to where you want to go because you won't have the capacity to hold what's coming. You won't be able to handle those problems because you don't have that foundation yet. So I think really it's the mindset. The mindset of successful people is they are always looking at, this is happening for me, not to me. And when you switch that, you unlock everything and you start looking at everything as a blessing. No matter how shitty it is, it's like, okay, there's something here.
It could always be worse.
It could always be worse. You are absolutely right. They have that mindset.
I can guarantee you there is somebody right now that has it much, much, much worse than you.
Yeah.
Much worse. So if you're a business owner, like, man, you doing something.
We are living
no
the
matter how
dream.
bad it is, you live in the dream, baby.
Yeah, and gearing your mind towards that. The people that you're helping, the community that you serve, the family that you go home to. Amen.
And even if you're not a business owner, even if you're just a licensed sales producer in an agency, you live in the dream, baby. You are in sales. You are in charge of your own income.
Yeah. It's a huge, it's a mindset shift. It's really being able to look at things as for you, not to you. Okay, last question.
And it's not that the greatest leaders don't go, by the way, it's not that they don't get tested. It's not like their mindset doesn't get tested. They have to continuously focus on improving that mindset and working on it and doing the things like the meditation, like the sauna, like the prayer, like the working out to build that mindset. So when they get tested, they have the ability to work through it. It's not like it just goes away all of a sudden. Like you're going to be tested throughout your career, throughout your life, both personally and professionally. And the only way is if you continue to just develop that skill set, like anything else you improve on. When you started any sport, you sucked at it, but you continued to practice. You continue, and that's what life is. Life is one giant practice, and it's just continuously building skill sets throughout your life that when you get tested, you're going to fall to the skill set that you have, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Last question that I have. 37-year-old you. Is this what you thought it would look like? Is this what you thought your life would look like when you entered the insurance industry? You entered into adulthood. If you had to go back and tell the 22-year-old version of you, this is what we look like at 37. This is what life looks like at 37.
No, it is way better.
Oh, I'm glad you said that. Way better.
It's better. Yeah. I mean, so many times, especially my 22-year-old self, I mean, thinking about the town, like I loved living in a small rural town. I know that you did the same thing. I mean, a town of 4,500 people. But you only know what you know. And so 22-year-old Michael, money hungry, like, let's get into it. Let's do it. Like, I'm going to get rich AF. Like, this life is 10 times better than I would have ever imagined because, number one, it's not about what you do. It's about who you're doing it with, period. And I feel extremely grateful and blessed that I got lucky, man. Like, I knocked it out of the park with you. Like, you're the best support system that I could ever ask for, and you're the best sell of my life, like, period. Because your partner is so damn important. I know we talk a lot about business, we talk a lot about insurance on the Insurance Buzz podcast, but when you're talking about a life, when your partner is the most important choice you will ever make in your life. So our life has been blessed. We've traveled more than I could ever imagine. We've done some crazy ass shit, from jumping out of planes in New Zealand to buying an RV and driving across the country for 90 plus days with 2 dogs and a cat. And all of those have been amazing experiences. But at the end of the day, none of that would have mattered if you weren't in my corner and we didn't have the relationship that we had. So I would say yes, my life looks amazing, and it is 10 times better than I could have ever asked for.
I love it. Happy birthday. Cheers to 37. If you were to ask for a present today on your 37th birthday, what would you ask for?
man, this is hard. I never asked for hardly anything.
I know.
I never asked for anything. So I would just ask for, this is going to sound kind of cheesy, but nothing material unless you want me to ask for something material. And then I would go with a 1970 Chevelle SS with a
You would ask for my car?
with a 450 Ford. Yeah, baby. Happy wife, happy life. And I get to enjoy that too. All right. And that's one of my dream cars. I would just continue to ask for health, like nothing, like just health. Health is one of those things that if I have good health, I'll be able to accomplish anything I want in this life. And I'm very blessed that I have the health I do. So that's what I would ask for, is just continued great health with great people by my side. And let's just see what the future holds and the impact that we can make.
Hell yeah. I love that answer. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Insurance Buzz. If you loved this episode, do me a favor. Shoot me a text, 816-727-7610. Tell me what your biggest takeaway was. Make sure and celebrate Michael Weaver. February 27th is his birthday. Show him some love because he loves you. Trust me. He shows up every single day out of love. So thank you so much for tuning into this episode. We appreciate you. We'll catch you on the next one. As always, time and attention are our most valuable assets, and we appreciate you spending some of those with us. Have a great day.
Thank you guys so much.